Letty is a legendary red dragon that's very cowardly, timid, kind-hearted, and quite dumb. He became friends with a demon lord who decided to build him a house without mentioning that he had to pay taxes for it. The story begins when Letty was left with the duty to look after his sibling egg by his father, but he fell asleep and hunters snuck in and stole the egg. When his father found out, he disowned Letty, sending him out into the world with no help whatsoever. Letty, who has never fended for himself before, was left stranded and alone in a world full of mystery. After reading about the 3 trolls that can build shelter, Letty decides to find them and ask them to build him a house he can live in and be safe from the dangerous world. But he gets kidnapped by some hunters and gets taken to Zalato Mine. He cries about the turn of events and voices that he didn't want to get harmed, he only wants a house. He's offered to be built a house if he can, in turn, pay with his organs. Letty refuses the offer, tricks the hunters, and escapes. They chase after him, but he manages to lose them in the forest where he meets 2 non-human creatures called the Harpias. They take him in at first but soon let him go when they realize that he can't fly because he's never done it before, despite having huge wings. They send him to the settlement of the goblins where he'll find an oak tree. If he gives the goblins their regards, they'll help him. He takes off, and when he arrives and does as said, the goblins send him away as well, as they are small and he's too big for their settlements. He goes to the sacrament to seek help from the water creatures, but he can't swim. He gets sent east where he'll meet an elf named Diria who happens to be an architect and the demon lord. Letty makes his way as he gets directions along the way, heading for the place. When he arrives at the forest, he meets some humans who call themselves heroes for performing heroic stunts and saving humans from non-human creatures. They threatened to kill Letty as their duty, but Letty screams for help and Diria comes to the rescue. He uses his magic and burns the heroes, causing the cowardly lady to faint. When he finally comes to, Letty tells Diria his dream of owning a house and having come there to find help. Diria takes him up on the mission, and he teleports them to a temple that he thinks Letty will like. As soon as they arrive, they explore the place and find out that the house is full of booby traps set to capture the heroes should they try to bother Letty. But this doesn't help Letty feel any safer as he gets stuck in the traps himself and falls into the dungeons. Soon after, he and Diria climb back up, but the elf spots the heroes and uses his magic to defeat them. When they make it out, Letty refuses to take the house because it doesn't suit his needs for safety. They head to the next location to try it out as well. It is the mansion of the dead where Diria assures Letty that the heroes won't come for him there as the place is haunted. Letty is skeptical at first but nonetheless, he checks it out, and Diria suggests they spend the night there. While Letty is in his room, a ghost appears, making him run out of the room in fear. He can't find Diria anywhere, and the door to his room suddenly disappears. He continues to run for his life as more ghosts start chasing after him. He comes across bloody stains on the floor in front of a door. He decides to get inside to hide from the ghosts, but when he opens the door, he faints as a ghost appears on the other side to welcome him. Diria wakes him up and introduces him to the ghosts in the house led by Lord Samuel, a man who owned the place before his death. The ghosts are just the Lord's retainers and mean no harm, but Letty passes when they offer to coexist with him on the property and look after him. He thinks he wouldn't be at peace in a scary-looking place haunted by disembodied spirits. After they go to a cave, the Coven of Abuela, where Diria wants to return some items he had rented for the spooky night at Lord Samuel's. There they meet 3 creepy old sisters who show them some other cool stuff that Letty likes, gets scared of, or gets embarrassed by. He finally sees a fireplace that he wants to have, but Diria informs him that it's very heavy and any house he'd ever buy wouldn't withstand its weight unless he considers building one of his own and factors the weight into its foundation. Letty likes the idea of building his own house, so he accepts that Diria takes him to the location where the house will be built and shows him the plan for the house he has in mind. Letty approves the plan, and Diria brings out his gnome and ogre friends, and the construction begins. The house is finally finished, But Letty doesn't have any money to pay for it, so Diria tells him the perfect plan to rob heroes of their items and sell them for cash. Diria also introduces him to his security team of other non-human creatures and leaves him to enjoy his new home in peace and tranquility. But soon, all of that comes to a halt as heroes arrive at night to try and rob him and possibly kill him. Both the security team does their job and successfully defeats the heroes who leave to spread the word about the flame dragon Lord Letty and rumor him to be ferocious and powerful. This leads to the next morning when two corp occurs, the tiniest non-humans, come to seek shelter at Letty's house because they'll be easily protected by the fearsome dragon lord. After having caught wind of the rumor, Letty agrees, but the corpacres invite even more non-humans to Letty's house, rendering the place loud and chaotic, which is something Letty never wanted. But he finally decides to leave his own home and leave it behind for the others as he ventures out to look for a different shelter of his own and his own alone. Diria appears to help him once again after understanding his situation. The two of them travel to the lay plains of Alves, a very cold place where Yetis live, a new location where Letty will be building his new house. Diria briefs him on igloos and how to build them. After learning, Letty then builds the home for himself as Diria tasks him with living and surviving for 3 days in the cold weather. Letty is left alone once again. He goes hunting for food soon, from reindeers to rabbits to huskies, he fails to capture even one. He finally decides to give up and head back home hungry, but a snowstorm hits, and he loses his way home and gets caught up in the storm. Luckily, he gets saved by a Yeti, which takes him inside an igloo where he sees Diria cooking for him and the others, including men he's not acquainted with, like the heroes. He realizes that it's all a dream and wakes up from it after the storm has passed. He comes across an egg that he wishes to eat since he's very hungry, but he doesn't eat it because it reminds him of his sibling egg that got stolen. He instead protects it even when it looks very tempting. When he's decided, he realizes that the ice is melting, and he's drifted away from the shore with the egg. A whale appears from behind and gobbles him, the ice, and the egg up. He wakes up inside the whale and meets David Jones, the ghost of Jonah, and gets invited to explore the whale by him. David shows him around and feeds him as well. After his bath, David invites him to live with him when he hears his story, but Letty is not so sure about the place, disliking mostly the smell of it. He asks for a way out. David shows him the way through a blowhole by causing the whale to sneeze using pepper, and Letty finally leaves the place and lands outside on another piece of drifting ice. He's still hungry, and when he sees a seal, he thinks of eating it, but being the kind-hearted dragon he is, he decides not to. Turns out, the seal was Diria all along. He wanted to see if Letty would be brave enough to kill a creature to satisfy his own hunger. Diria teleports them back home, and he almost cooks the egg, but Letty stops him because he wants to return it to its parents. But it hatches right there and then, and it's a resoldier, a baby ice eagle. Diria gets them out of the cold place and into a warmer climate where Letty thrives better. He briefs Letty on becoming a father to the baby eagle, but Letty is not ready to be one yet. He doesn't want the responsibility when he doesn't even have a home. But still, he keeps the baby as it only needs snow to feed and has already imprinted on him as its father temporarily. They head to Regulus Gorge, a settlement for many non-humans to rent and live in peace, to find the little one a home and responsible foster parents. They look around for good parents, but everywhere they look, nothing works out either because of the rules, the scary environment, or the baby rejecting the place. As Diria is still asking him to adopt the baby, a bugbear and his cubs come along and talk to him. They move away for a minute, leaving Letty with the cubs and the baby. A catapult appears and threatens to take the children away, but Letty defends them even though he's scared. He could use his fire breath like every dragon, but he can't because it's too hot and burns his tongue when he does. They are left wide open when the catapult sees this, but Diria appears right then and scares it away by further spreading the rumor about the ferocious flame dragon lord. It runs away, and Daria commends Letty for standing up for the kids even when he was scared. Letty decides that he will adopt the young bird. He names it Pip. Some days later, when Letty realizes that he's broke due to taking care of Pip, they teleport to the trade market of Pecunia to build him some assets. They go to Almond to look for a job, and Pip helps by making a compelling case that only Almond can understand, which lands Letty his first job. But it pays really low, so they assign him another position as a hotel receptionist, but he scares away the human guests because of his race of dragon. Daria tells him that he should be given custom jobs where he'll be doing things specifically for dragons. He lands a job as a summon for a fraud mage. He still sucks at it, but Pip helps him out. For his next gig, he gets tricked into getting kidnapped along with his young eagle and gets hauled away in a wagon. He arrives at the facility where he gets caged like a prisoner, fearing for his life and his son's life. He quickly tries to come up with a plan to escape. He sends Pip out to get help but is stopped by an Arobas named Steve. Steve opens the cage for him and shows him around the prison and introduces him to the other inmates. He shows him that the place is not so bad. They get along with the guards, they work there, get paid, and they can basically do whatever they want there. It's the perfect place for Letty. Letty gives it a few days and grows to like the place after the work he does, which is pretending to fight for the amusement of an audience. They get to hang out and relax. But soon, bad news comes. The owner of the place has died, and the new owner wants to close the place and kill the creatures living there. That means Letty's new life is coming to a stop, and his newfound home will be no more. They must escape. They devise a plan and put it forth to commence, and even when it almost gets ruined, they manage to knock out most of the new guards. They get cornered at the last minute because Letty is weak and cowardly, but Daria calms her down. After she's alright, she introduces herself as the princess of the people of the city of Yoz. Now she admits to having run away from home because her father ate her cupcake without her permission, and now she wants a home of her own. Daria doesn't back down from a challenge. He gets ready to help his newest client. They all head to a location that Daria thinks is suited to her, but she's very particular about her taste and can't be satisfied. She wants a place that Letty has for having kidnapped Nell. Letty tries to reason with them, but they won't hear him, so Daria does his thing, and all is back to normal. The three of them enjoy a meal together and call it a night. In the morning, Letty is finding it hard to decide about his next house. Suddenly, they get a visit from a djinn from the tax service office regarding Letty's tax report. The djinn takes him down to the office to help him file his taxes, but Letty doesn't even have an income or a household, except for that slave, making it the last place Letty would want to live. They decide to explore the dungeon further and find the treasure that Nell's father lied to her about. But while separated from Daria, Letty, Pip, and Nell accidentally get trapped in a room with shifting walls. Pip quickly finds a way out through a secret door that has a ladder that leads to the above ground in the living area of the palace. Letty has now run outside after he was found by the royal guards and chased after. He stands atop the palace and cherishes her, and that running away from home because of a cupcake is a dumb idea. She decides to head back inside. Her problem is solved, but Letty must somehow leave the place. He comes up with a plan and asks Daria for his help. He appears where the king is and lures him away from the guards and into a room that Daria secures with his magic, making the guards wait outside. After following behind, the king finds his daughter inside, and they reconcile when Letty appears from where he was hiding. Watch this next video.